by Europeans in the 17th century, but it wasn't until 1892 that the British flag was hoisted on the island called Abemama. The British had come to rule. Before colonization, the northern islands were under chiefly leadership. The southern islands governed from the Maniaba. Before Christianity, each clan or tribe had its own god.
It is a community centered on the Maniaba. This is the great village meeting hall which graces every Gilbertese village. Large, shadowy, thatched, with splendid rafters and rock posts at every corner. Here the affairs of the community were decided, with the senior man of each family taking his regular place as a councillor. But the most significant thing to me is that the Maniaba has always been the place of hospitality, always with room to receive the stranger. So these little villages scattered across the equator on the tiny reefs have had a structured, ordered society which welcomed others. A lot of that is now under threat.
Maori and Bula everyone. My name is Miriam Tibel, student ID is 112222929. My Matai video is based on the impacts of colonization on Kiribati in terms of social, cultural, and political influences and the benefits of difficulties to these influences in Kiribati. I would like to address a crucial chapter in our history, the era of colonialism, and its lasting impact on our social, cultural, political, and economic landscape. As a local resident of this island nation, I have personally witnessed how colonial control has shaped our society, especially in the realms of language, social structures, and governance. Colonization arrived in Kiribati in the 19th century, physically changing the lives of its people. The introduction of foreign powers, mostly Britain and later the United States, disrupted traditional ways of life, imposed a new governance structure, and redefined social hierarchies. This was not merely an economic takeover. It was a complicated process that affected the very essence of our identity. First, we have social cultural changes. Colonialism brought significant changes to our social cultural fabric. One of the most profound transformations was in our language. The British controlled colonial powers introduced English as the language of administration and education, which has had lasting implications on our cultural identity. While English has opened doors to new opportunities, it has also marginalized our indigenous languages, creating a divide between those proficient in English and those who are not. This language barrier has at times hindered full participation in our political and social spheres. Additionally, the introduction of Christianity, predominantly Catholicism in the north and Protestantism in the south, has played a significant role in shaping our social values. While these religions have brought positive community interconnection, they have also introduced Western values that often conflict with our traditional communal ethics, emphasizing individualism over the collective needs of our society. Colonial education seems further complicated our cultural identity. The British established formal schooling that prioritized academic achievement and Western knowledge, often at the expense of our indigenous practices. Our traditional education, which was practical and community focused on, was sidelined. This shift created the difference in learning methods, and many young Kiribati found themselves caught between two worlds, struggling to navigate their cultural heritage and the demand of a westernized education system. Next, we have political influences. Turning to the political landscape, colonialism basically altered our traditional governance structures. Before colonial rule, Ikiribes communities were led by Unumani, or elders, who governed with a deep sense of local self-rule and communal responsibility. However, the British imposed a centralized system of governance that diluted the authority of these local leaders. This shift, while bringing some sense of national unity, weakened our indigenous decision-making process. The political framework established during colonial rule reflected British democratic structures, introducing councils and assemblies designed to incorporate local leaders. Yet, these institutions often failed to align with our customs and political sentiments. Limited political awareness among the general population, aggravated by the lack of understanding from colonial administrators of our languages and cultures, stalled effective governance and led to disconnects between the people and their leader. Finally, we have economic dependency and the road to independence. The legacy of colonialism also laid the groundwork for ongoing economic dependency. Kiribati's transition to self-governance in 1979, while a significant achievement, did not completely cut ties with our colonial past. Our economy continues to rely heavily on foreign aid from former colonial powers, mostly the United Kingdom and other external nations. This reliance has often limited our political control and made our governments susceptible to external pressures. Moreover, the colonial experience shaped our path to independence. The struggles for self-determination were charged by a desire to reclaim our identity and self-government. However, the journey has been complex as the influences of colonial governance remain embedded in our political systems. The impact of colonialism on Kiribati has been profound and complex. While it introduced Western values, education, and governance structures, it's also disrupted our traditional ways of life, undermining our languages, customs, and communal ethics. The journey toward independence was not merely a political transition, but a reclaiming of our cultural identity and self-government. As we reflect on our colonial past, we must acknowledge the challenges we face today, while also celebrating our resilience. By understanding the legacies left by colonialism, we can better navigate our future, ensuring that our cultural heritage thrives alongside the opportunities that modern governance and education can provide. Thank you for listening.